Hi, this is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. That little bit was for Ray, who's sitting next to me with a newly shorn head.
I look like an egg now. It's great.
No, actually, they look pretty cute. Maybe you should come in and they can see.
Egg.
I think it looks great. Zeke, my husband, got some new clippers at CVS or Rite Aid or someplace. CVS. And so they decided to shear each other's heads. So Zeke has a little extra silver in his hair these days. I'm messing with mine because I played tennis today and had a bunch of meetings and washed it while I was watching the San Diego State parents thing, talking about classes and housing and everything else. And honestly, I just didn't have the interest to dry it, so you get this. But what you get to see is last Saturday when I was doing research for some Black women-owned businesses, I ordered some eye cream, which I'm using now, and I ordered some gorgeous candles from Suki's Candle Company and this delightful headband. And I'm not really a headband person. I want to be a headband person, but I think it's kind of cute. It kind of works.
Yeah, it works.
Maybe, kind of not. Anyway, I'll put a link in the description to all three of those companies. So if you'd like to order something, you can. Today, actually, because this will come out on Saturday, I am highlighting as part of the daily challenge. It's Shopping Saturday. So Suki's Candle Company is going to be highlighted. And they are beautiful, non-toxic, clean-burning, vegan, soy candles. And they're
gluten-free.
Don't eat them. Anyway, one is in Adam's room covering up the stink, and one is in the living room, and it's the smell, which normally gives me a headache with strong fragrances. This one doesn't, and it's just providing this lovely fruity smell. So super excited to be able to share that. It has been quite a week. I think all of you are probably maybe just as overwhelmed as I am. I described it as feeling like I'm being swarmed by a bunch of bees and I can't figure out which one to swat away, because just as soon as I feel like I've got one swatted, something comes at me. And it's been a lot. I hit a point yesterday at 3:00 on Thursday after doing a series of things, and my brain felt like scrambled eggs. And fortunately, I managed to get the challenge posts out before I hit that point, because they're taking up several hours, and I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to be incredibly intentional and diligent about what it is that I'm sharing, and putting out one thing for all of you to do every day. If you are white, this is to the white people in my audience, to really shift the economic power, really start to make a change to, as we were talking about this morning, really work on this revolution, which needs to happen. I was watching a kind of an address by Rachel Cargill, who I recently heard about on It's Been a Day, which is one of the podcasts I listen to every weekday morning and get a recap of the prior day's news, which I'm surprised it's not 4 hours long, because every day it seems like there's just so much to cover. And I heard her name and I meant to follow her on Instagram. In fact, I was driving and I asked Zeke to find her. He couldn't, but then somehow in my feed, she popped up in my feed, and I linked through to her, what is she calling it? It's a public address on it's a public address on revolution and the power of revolution. And I'm going to have a link in the description. It is also in today or Friday's challenge to follow her, to watch this 15 minutes. It is informative, it is powerful, it is so well presented and so well articulated that I can't imagine any of you would walk away after listening to it without really seeing what needs to change, how it needs to change, and how we can get behind this change. Another thing that I was watching today was, it popped up on Instagram, was Kamala Harris live with, let me get her name, Brittany Packnett Cunningham. And apparently she's on Pod Save something. It's not Pod Save America. It's another one. And that is another one that I'm going to link to in the description and recommend that you watch. It's just so incredibly powerful. On a day when the mayor of Washington, D.C. had mural artists out putting over like a 2-block space in big yellow letters, Black Lives Matter, renaming the street to, I think, because it's leading up to the White House on, 16th Street, Black Lives Matters Plaza, Black Lives Matters Street. I love what a huge fuck you this is to Trump, basically, who's trying to take over Washington, D.C. and really militarize the police force within D.C. and create his, continue to create this authoritarian and regime and dictatorship. And it's been a scary week to watch all of this at a time when we really should be paying attention to really the police brutality and the violence and atrocities on behalf of a lot of the police department and police officers within our country. And that's why I'm just saying, it's like these bees, it's just like, it just keeps, it's overwhelming, because when we're trying to focus on fixing something, on revolutionizing something, that there's such resistance, which I suppose that's why that's why revolution needs to happen, is the resistance that's happening on the part of the few who want to retain power over everyone else. So it's been, as I said, it's been quite a week. On Tuesday, I was feeling like powerless, and Zeke and I went to the beach in Half Moon Bay. We had to be out of the house, so we went and we grabbed a bagel from a place called, I think it's called The Press in El Granada, parked the car, scarfed that down, and then walked the dog down the harbor and down onto the beach. And it felt great to be walking on the sand with the Pacific Ocean waves, the waves hitting, walking in, and just talking with Zeke. And what I realized in looking out at the ocean is that Trump and the administration have no power over the ocean. And that led me to the thought that they have no power over my thoughts, they have no power over my words, and they have no power over my actions. It was at that moment that I realized that I was not powerless, that I can do something, and I was even more inspired or activated to continue to do even more. So despite my misgivings and fears about going to the protest in Redwood City on Tuesday afternoon, Ray, Zeke, and I got ourselves hydrated, and I got sunscreened. Ray did not get sunscreened.
I didn't get burned, which is a very large surprise.
Yeah, well, it was 4:00, so that was helpful. So
it was still very sunny and
hot. It was hot. So we walked the mile downtown. It was surreal to see the boarded up businesses and restaurants. It was apocalyptic. That's the only thing I can say. It was surreal. I started to cry a little bit behind my sunglasses as we were walking along, but I knew
that's what sunglasses are for, Mom.
Is hiding my tears. So there were over 2,000 people who showed up in the courthouse square, and out we stayed a little bit on the peripheral, largely because we found some shade in front of the Little Fox Theater. And we wanted to social distance. 99% of us had on masks, which I was totally impressed by. I know that people who were actually in the square were closer together than we were where we were.
But they were still wearing masks.
Yeah, and we really couldn't hear But the important thing was, we would clap when everybody else was clapping. At one point, all of us got down on a knee and put our hands up in solidarity. And that was the point of us being down there, was to be in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Even though this wasn't a Black Lives Matter sanctioned event, this was put on by a grassroots Latinx group of people. But it was about being there in solidarity. It was standing next to the people in our community to show that we are going to be part of this revolution. We are going to be part of the change. We are not going to continue to be a part of the problem by not being active or visible enough. And what really made it so that I wanted to go is I realized that while I was concerned about the health and safety of the people in my community in terms of COVID, I'm actually more concerned about the health and safety of our democracy and large parts of our population. And that's why it was important for me to go. Why was it important for you to go, Ray?
It's all about showing support and kind of, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
I asked, why was it important for you to go to the protest?
Because it's important to feel like we're doing something until we can actually do something, because I feel like the peaceful protests are not going to be the answer. Mm-hmm. We need to do more. But until we figure out what that next step is, these are good ways to kind of show that we are trying to do something.
So, and we had a conversation with your brother this morning about racism, systemic and institutional racism, what we can be doing, how we can take action. Adam is a little bit upset that Taco Bell, I think, is one of the fast food companies that has been giving money to Trump. And I basically said we need to make sure that we are boycotting and not giving money to companies that are continuing to support this authoritarian administration. And, I was impressed by what I think the education that you and your brother have been getting in the Redwood City schools. Mm-hmm. And that this has been something that you have been talking about and educated around since, kindergarten?
I don't remember kindergarten.
Okay, so
I would not know.
Since elementary school. And I was also impressed because I asked Adam what he was doing and if he was standing up, and he said that he does have a friend who is I think a Trump supporter and maybe a bit of a racist, and Adam's been challenging him and asking questions and using his philosophical debate techniques in order to point out the discrepancies in thoughts and try to get him to shift. So I was proud of that, but we have decided that over dinner for the rest of the summer, at least when we're all home, that this is going to be a topic of what can we do now? What can we be doing in order to support the massive change that has to happen, whether it's whether we get involved economically, politically, as activists. We are going to continue to work on it. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I know I don't have all of the right language. I'm learning. I'm trying to read, listen, watch, follow, so that I can hear a wide variety of voices and learn more about just being a better human in our society. And any thoughts on that, Ray?
You're preaching to the choir here, bud. I don't know what else to say.
Well, good. As all of this has been happening, life has continued to go on, and COVID continues to remain a problem in our country and in our world. And I'm following, what's going on in Vegas. Vegas just opened back up.
Which is a really stupid idea.
Yes, I think so too, because even though they're putting in partitions and they're testing people's temperatures when they are going in, and sometimes it's just at check-in, sometimes it's whenever anybody goes in. It seems like it's different casino by casino. But think about it. So you've got people from all over the country that may or may not be practicing, I don't know, good and responsible behavior around this, all coming into Vegas and then sitting in these buildings in close proximity, touching the chips and then what they're going to do is then they're all going to go back home. So is this going to be wave 2? Is this going to be wave 3? How is this going to impact the rest of what's going on? I feel like the coronavirus has been, put on the back burner right now while we've been dealing with all of the, and I say dealing with, that's not the right word, while the protests have been happening in order to make systemic change a reality sooner rather than later. And it's just, I just feel like there's going to be another big bubble in terms of the coronavirus, and all of a sudden it's going to be like shiny object, we're moving over here, and then shiny object, we're moving over here, or trying to deal with all of this all at the same time. And we've not been doing a great job with either one on a national level. So a little bit nervous about what's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. And on that cheery note, anything else, Ray?
I don't really know what I would want to add, just because I feel like you've covered
a lot. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And I'm getting the stink eye again to wrap this up.
It's not a stink eye, Mother. It's a helpful warning about how much time you're giving me to edit this lengthening video.
Okay, well then let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And this week, as always, take some risks, let go of perfection, and with all that's going on, try to have a little fun and find some joy.
And take a nap. Naps are great.
If you can, take a nap.